Rice is a guy who also sort of manages and coaches and owns this team. And maybe these aren't players that we've really heard of before, but so far they've played pretty impressively. And to see a pro player sort of take on that role as well, obviously we have a lot of pro players doing different media events, but almost none of them are into coaching at the same time as being active players themselves. So pretty interesting here from Kaiway Rice and his team.
Yeah, right now we're going to have Sin spawning as the blue Terran player at the 6 o'clock position, and it is going to be close air spawns here on Shadow Temple as Time spawning at the 9 o'clock location, and Time giving the good or have fun back to Sin here as Sin and Time are going to go at it. I know there could be a lot of puns. I'm thinking about it now, having Sin and Time on your side, but we'll see what's going to be going down. Sin most likely will be setting up a 10 supply depot in just a moment. We'll see if he tries to wall off or builds it close to his mineral patch. It will be close. Meanwhile, Time doing the same thing as well. No gateways, nothing yet, as the strategies may be a little bit more interesting from Time. This Time is going to be spawning much closer to his opponent, so we may see a quick rush to Stargate or just some interesting builds that we mentioned earlier.
I think I'm going to go the opposite way and try not to use the word time unless I'm referring to the player and see if I'm able to do that. Not really sure what a timing push is going to be called, but I'll think of something as the game progresses here. And yeah, as you mentioned, close by air, so we'll see whether Sin is able to do any sort of damage there, threaten with those drops. I imagine Time did a really nice job of getting map control with observers and pylons and probes all over the place in the last map. So he's going to want to get pylons in the edge of his base here, the southeast corner, and perhaps maybe even an observer patrolling between the two bases. As we see him sending out immediately scouting Sin's location, he will see both the gas and the racks. So he's going to know that some sort of tech play is coming. I imagine he's going to want to get the timing on the second gas if he can, but that Marine is going to be on its way shortly.
Yeah, the Marine going to pop out, no tech lab being added. A supply depot needs to be placed down as well. We'll see if Sin follows the same problem that that Ner'zhul had, where he was supply locked for a little bit of time. We'll see if a Marine is going to be added, and then we may get that tech lab down. No, going into a quick double racks by Sin. So Sin is showing a quick double racks with the tech lab, and we'll see what Time or how Time responds to this. He may have to train up a very early sentry in order to wall off this front door ramp.
Yeah, it's going to be very important to see which of the researches Sin goes for out of this tech lab. I imagine he might be going for that concussive shell and just start coming out with some strong Marauder and Marine pressure at the start here, perhaps executing the build which Ner'zhul was trying to do if he wasn't supply blocked a little bit, and then expanding off of that. It's a very annoying build as a Protoss because you just can't get close to those Marauders and Marines. If you take a step forward, they take a step back. If you take a step back, the concussive shell slows you down. So we'll see whether Sin starts anything here off this tech lab or whether he just starts pumping out the Marauders using the tech lab for that.
Yeah, the Marauders currently one out, a second one going to be trained. The concussive shells don't take long to research, only 60 seconds, the same time that I believe it takes to train 2 Marauders. So by the time that these Marauders start making their way, across the map, the concussive shell could be completed. Now, the Marauders and the Marines are just sitting there, and they're acting a little bit more defensively right now, as Sin is behind, currently sitting on 19 SCVs compared to 23, as we are also going into a fast Nexus. So this is a really gutsy move by Time, as I wouldn't expect him to try to fast expand knowing that his opponent is going for double racks so early.
You know, and this is the build that Sin wants against Time's build. Time is going for this fast expansion. Sin is about to have a number of Marauders. I think he has 3 at the moment and 4 Marines. Concussive Shell about to finish. So he's going to be able to do a lot of damage, perhaps force a cancel here if he plays his cards right. Time with just a few units. He's poking out here with that probe. He wants to see how many units Sin does have. But Sin's got a lot coming across the field. Time almost forced to stay on the high ground here to force field that ramp. and we'll see whether he's able to hold this Nexus.
Yeah, one of the things I like, oh no, Probe's now coming down the ramp, and we are going to have a little bit of an engagement here. No, what's it called? Yeah, no stim pack, so the Probes are going to be able to do a little bit of chasing, and the Probes are the ones getting concussive celled and slowed down. We can see that the Stalkers are trying to engage as well, and it looks like this one Marauder may get taken down. No, it is not taken down, but a lot of damage has been dealt by both sides. You can see the Sentry now trying to run away. Additional Stalkers are reinforcing once more, both sides battling it out, but there's not really enough Marauders to finish this off, and Time is going to be the first one with his Nexus in play, and that will definitely help out.
Yeah, Time did a nice job there. He did not have the units. He had to delay, and pulling those probes, not only were they going to mine anyway at this natural, but he was able to delay that push. He finished Warp Gate Tech right as the probes, a few of them did die, and with his first set of warp-ins off of these 3 gateways, he was able to kind of push back the forces of Sin. Sin did not really follow that up with a lot of reinforcements, so that was a planned timing to try to put pressure on that strategy for the Protoss player, but Time has obviously seen that before on the ladder. It plays a lot of games, and he was able to defend that quite easily.
Yeah, so Time responding very well to that timing attack, now sitting on 33 probes compared to 26. Taking a look at the army sizes, 900 compared to 600, nothing really too drastic, as both players cannot destroy each other just quite yet. We are going into mass racks play with no factory yet, so with no factory, we are not going to be getting any starports, no medevacs, and that may be a bit of an issue. We'll see what Sin tries to go for in just a moment. The combat shield, oh wow, combat shield being researched before Stim Pack, and I really don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure the specific situations where combat is better than Stim. Obviously, he feels like it is at this point, and he might be trying another timing here as he's pushing out an SCV and a Marauder as well. Checking for proxy pylons, a really smart job. As Protoss, they like to throw those pylons all over the place. Time already putting one up on the eastern position, but I'm not sure that Sin is going to be scouting that. And as you mentioned, he will not have medevacs, and he will not be able to get any more than the level 1 upgrades if he does add an engineering bay, because he does not have an armory. So he is going off these racks. He's got 2 tech labs and 1 reactor, coming out with a lot of units at the moment, and we see a robotics bay coming up from Time.
Yeah, that robotics bay, and I was going to mention that if a robotics bay does go down, Sin is going to have an absolute nightmare at this stage. As with no factory in play, he's not going to have enough in order to get Vikings to counter those Colossi. A 2-base Colossi, a very popular strategy, and if Time plays his cards right, he can come out with 3 to 4 rather quickly, and then to simply almost attack move. The Marines and the Marauders are not going to have stim pack, or they're just going to be getting stim pack now, so they should be able to stim and then try to charge in at those units. But with so many sentries in play, Time with almost 3 full energy sentries by the time the next engagement happens, I'm not sure what really Sin can do. He really needs to get that factory and quickly get into that starport. If he delays even for 30 seconds, he's going to be in a world of hurt.
Now, Stimpack is on the way. It's about 60 seconds, 1 minute away, and he is pushing out here to clear out this tower. At least there's a Stalker there. Time needs to pull that back, and the Stalker will go down, and he's going to see the amount of units which Sin has, so he's threatening here. Colossus are not out on the field, and Thermal Lance has not been started, so Time's going to want to get that Thermal Lance before he does any pressure here, and we see some preemptive force fields laid down, and he's just saying, get out of my house, and I'm going to need a few more warp-ins off these gateways before I'm ready to deal with this force.
Yeah, so he is getting another round of force fields. He doesn't really need 4. He only needs 3 force fields in order to try to deter, and every second that he is able to buy is another second for a Colossus to come out and a level 1 weapons upgrade. So it looks like it is going to be 2 Colossus there, and with 2 rounds of force fields, he was able to deter Sin, and Sin will not be able to make a push. At this point, I would say Sin needs to set up another expansion since he is a little bit more defensive now, retreating home.
We do have a starport going up for Sin, so he was able to push out there, threaten posture a little bit, and a reactor going down on the factory, being prepared for that starport. So we will be able to get out Viking soon. And I actually think Time did Sin a little bit of a favor, as Sin had Stim not quite complete when he pushed in, and even with the second round of force fields, Stim was still a few seconds away. So Sin actually being set up with the perfect timing with Stim finishing by those force fields going down for Time. And Sin now actually has the advantage, 128 to 118, and we do see the extended Thermal Lance about halfway done for Time. So he was a little bit delayed getting that out, and you cannot attack against these kiting and very mobile forces of the Terran without that extended thermal lance. And now we'll see whether Time's tech choice does pay off here. We see Medivacs coming out too before the Vikings come out for Sin. So Time's going to have a nice moment here, I would say, where he could attack and do damage.
Yeah, he is going to be moving out. He does have 3 Colossi now. Extended Thermal Lance range about to be completed. Only needs about 20 seconds or so. But we are getting the command center down by Sin. So Sin going to be the first one to set up his third base, which is going to be very, very important now. We can see Sin now trying to move back with these Marauders and those Marines. And we'll see what will be happening. There are 2 Vikings now currently being trained off of the reactor starport. But it looks like a drop going to be coming in as well. So Sin taking this opportunity to perhaps drop into the main base, and it will all really depend on whether Time has enough cooldown on those warp gates. And you can see the Stalkers are already warping into position over here. There is one pylon that will get taken down. The Stalkers are now desperately trying to retreat, but they are going to get eaten up. And there is one Colossus. The Colossus now trying to back off. It doesn't look like it will be able to make it, and that was a very free and easy kill. Meanwhile, we have Time now pushing in on the front door instead, and there are not that many medevacs, so the Stalkers with that Guardian Shield able to absorb a lot of damage. So both sides just attacking and dealing as much damage as possible. The Vikings, not enough of them to shoot down the Colossus there, as Time may be able to get a lot more damage with the majority of his units. And now Stalkers and Sentries trying to clean up the rest of these Marines and those Marauders. There are probes even coming off the mineral line, trying to win the war.
And that's smart by Time. The probes will be able to at least force kiting out of these Marauders and Marines, and with the remaining gateway warp-ins, he is going to be able to clean up his base there, and just doing so much damage with these Colossi. One has 10 kills, one has 13 kills, another has 10 kills. All are instructors, and they're just shredding the SCVs as Sin tries one more all-in last-ditch effort to defend here, but the GG should be coming soon.
Yeah, I think Time just got a really, really nice cut on those SCVs. Those SCVs, when they were trying to be brought over, they actually walked within the range of those Colossi, and 3 Colossi were able to just slice down and take down 8 to 10, dealing the maximum amount of damage. And then he didn't have enough SCVs to try to absorb damage, and that's ultimately why that last all-in effort failed.
Yeah, I really like the drop by Sin. Perhaps that should have happened a little bit earlier, though the medevacs were late coming out. But I feel like, just those 2 full medevacs might have tilted the battle in Time's favor, and he was able to kind of roll into that natural, take out all the forces of Sin. I was a little bit worried that the mass Zealot pressure of Time was not going to be able to do too much damage without Zealot leg speed, but once you're bottled up in that natural, the Marines and the Marauders aren't going to be able to do too much kiting. So Time doing a lot of damage, and just some late Vikings and medevacs out for Sin.
Yeah, so once again, Time going 2-0 so far in this and giving vV the first lead of the night. As we see who will be coming up next, it looks like if they go according to plan, it will be Binsky? Is that how you say his name?